A 58-year-old Georgia woman is currently being detained by ICE, but here's the thing. Her dad was a U.S. Navy veteran who served in Vietnam. So we're asking the question, is she a citizen? Here to help answer that is Andy Parati. This is Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates. Welcome, Andy.
Hey.
Tell me a little bit about Alma's story.
So we heard about Alma's story a few weeks ago from someone that tracks immigration issues, and it became really interesting to us when we heard about her background, who her father was. And it turns out he was in the Vietnam War. He served in the Philippines. While Alma was born in the Philippines, her father served on a naval ship when she was born. They brought her here when she was about 10 years old. She's lived in Macon, Georgia, nearly her entire life. But now she's being held by federal immigration officials.
I like you to see there's a Pikachu, some Kingdom Hearts.
John and Chris Bowman show off dozens of action figures and superheroes.
It's like she loves Deadpool, as you can see there's a lot of Deadpool stuff.
Collected by their mother.
Characters that are usually somehow abandoned by society for some reason.
In a room that brings them joy and heartache.
There have been a couple of times where I come in here, it feels kind of like I can't breathe, and I'm like, okay, well, this is hard.
A suffocating feeling because their mother is no longer here after U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement unexpectedly took Alma Bowman into custody this past March at its Atlanta field office, potentially deporting the 58-year-old to the Philippines. Family and friends rallied outside.
Keep fighting so you are released!
This is the last picture of their mother taken before it happened.
What was that like?
Heartbreaking? She didn't get to say bye or anything to us.
Within hours of taking Alma into custody, immigration officials took her here at this detention facility more than 140 miles away, where she remains today. Records show Alma's current detention is because of a criminal conviction more than 20 years ago after writing bad checks worth $1,200, which she paid back. In response, the federal government revoked her permanent residency. But her family argues her detention is illegal because Alma is a U.S. citizen. While born in the Philippines, military records show her father, Lawrence Bowman, was an American citizen, originally from Illinois. This is the U.S. naval ship he served on during the Vietnam War when Alma was born in 1966. Alma's birth certificate shows he's the father. Her parents moved to the U.S. when Alma was 10. She's lived in Macon, Georgia, nearly 50 years. Does she know anyone in the Philippines?
No, no one at all.
Would she have any support if she was forced to go?
Nope.
The rule of law has never seemed to be so meaningless.
Samantha Hamilton is an attorney with Asian Americans Advancing Justice representing Alma. Until this past March, she says ICE allowed Alma to live at home and check in about once a year since 2020 while she worked to prove her citizenship. What changed?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is the Trump administration wanting to remove people without respect to that person's individual circumstances, or how long they've been in this country, or their ties to this country, or their lack of ties to any other country, or whether they might even be a U.S. citizen.
Alma is one of at least 2,600 people held at immigration facilities across Georgia, about half of them with no criminal record. Most detained in private prisons like CoreCivic, which operates the Stewart Detention Center in Lumpkin, Georgia, where Alma is incarcerated. Her attorney blames the government, not the company, for illegally holding her. Here's what CoreCivic's CEO told investors during its earnings call earlier this month.
Never in our 42-year company history have we had so much activity and demand for our services.
The company announced it earned nearly $500 million so far this year, nearly 50% from ICE and other federal contracts.
ICE cites a need for nearly 100,000 beds and the administration's goal of removing 1 million aliens annually.
Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson.
This is an intentional payout
to the private prison industry which supported Trump's reelection.
Based on what we shared about Alma's case, do you think she's being held illegally?
Yeah, there's no question about it. The fact that one of her parents was an American means that she is an American.
I feel like surrounded by the fact that she's not here.
Alma told her children if she's deported to sell her collection. It's money they could use. A mother's love from behind bars they cannot accept.
It would make me feel like I'm selling part of my mom.
I couldn't do it. It matters too much to me, but it would feel like a piece of giving up on her.
And one more thing. We reached out to the company that owns the private prison where Alma is incarcerated in Stewart County, Georgia. We reached out to them not because they're accused of doing anything wrong or by anyone that we interviewed in our story, but simply because we identified them in this story. And here's what they told us in a statement, quote, CoreCivic does not enforce immigration laws, arrest anyone who may be in violation of immigration laws, or have any say whatsoever in an individual's deportation or release. CoreCivic does not know the circumstances of individuals when they are placed in our facilities, end quote. You can read their entire statement in this story on AtlantaNewsFirst.com.
Incredible reporting, Andy. What is ICE saying about all of this?
So I reached out to ICE, and a few days afterwards, I got a phone call from someone who said that they were an ICE spokesperson. And they said, basically, what would be the focus of your interview? What do you want to know if we agreed to an interview? And I said, simply, I just want to know what has changed. She was allowed to check in with ICE in person about once a year. You obviously thought, or at least the previous administration thought, she was not a threat to the community and that she wasn't a flight risk. So what changed? And he sort of hemmed and hawed, and he said, well, we have a new administration, and she's not the only one in this situation, and we're just following new directives.
I wonder what happens next. I'm sure her attorneys have been trying to help her, but any indication that they might get some answers sometime soon?
No. They're going to likely have to go through filing a lawsuit in federal court. There's numerous different avenues that they're going to take. They really want to also establish her permanent residency or her U.S. citizenship that they believe that they have records showing it. And they're also saying that ICE is violating one of their own policies, saying that if ICE believes that someone in their custody has substantial information showing that they could be a U.S. citizen, you should not be holding them. So they're also going to use that avenue. There are so many people in ICE custody in similar situations, and Alma is just one of them.
Wow, let's sit with that for a little bit, because you're talking about that legal avenue they could take, but that is not a quick fix. So that means in the meantime, she would just have to be detained?
Yeah, immigration court is backlogged.
Wow.
There are a need of judges just to get things done. The Trump administration has laid off some of those administrative law immigration judges that are needed to get these cases through. So there is the delay, and there are thousands of people just simply waiting to get have their day in court. And as the report shows, there is money to be made by simply just keeping them detained in private facilities. That CEO, just a little bit of background, I had just finished interviewing Alma's children, and they live in Macon, and Stewart County is about 2 hours away. So we were actually driving to the facility where Alma is being detained because we needed video. And I thought, it's May. A lot of companies have their earnings call around this time. Let me see if I can pull up the earnings call. And sure enough, while on the way to the CoreCivic facility, I'm hearing the CEO talk about how they've had one of the best times, the best profits and revenues they've had in their 42-year career. So it was kind of just striking to hear a company making money off the backs of people detained.
This is so frustrating for that family. We know you'll stay on top of Alma's case. You've been watching and listening to Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates. Be sure to watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.